Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's feeling well and they're keeping warm in this cold weather. Coming up from Florida, it definitely has been a big change for me, but being a Boston boy, this is my home and my hometown. So I truly enjoy the coldness away from the Florida heat and humidity. But welcome everyone to the first SCDROCKS Conference. This is an awesome, awesome time. So thank you. I'm very humbled and grateful to be here today, and because of you, I'm here. You guys all inspired me, and I wanted to let you know that the conference is truly a success with you all being here. Thank you. I want to first start by recognizing the people who helped make this all possible. When I call your name, please stand or raise your hand for everyone to see you. I'd like to recognize the Specific Carbohydrate Diet Association board members first, starting with the one and only Sophia Hamrick. Sophia is a co-founder. She's been there every step of the way for the last 2.5 years. She's been my cheerleader, and most importantly, she worked diligently with me on the concept of the conference and the Specific Carbohydrate Diet Association from the beginning. Thank you. Thank you so much. There were days where I wanted to just say, you know something, I give up. This is just too much. And Sophia just said, take a day off, Jeffrey. Come back, you'll be stronger tomorrow. And that's what I did. She kept me going. So thank you so much. Pamela Farrow in the back over there. Pam has been a wonderful mentor, full of wisdom, guidance. She gave me a lot of history, a lot of background, and whenever I needed someone to talk to about the diet or try to figure out how to do all this, she was always there with me, and I thank you so much, Pam Farrow. Raman Prasad. Raman has been an inspiration for me, truly. Reading his story, You See in Me, truly made me not feel alone anymore. And looking at all of his cookbooks and being an author has been a true inspiration of how he's left his mark on the specific carbohydrate diet world, and I thank you so much. Tammy Irish. Tammy's been there every step of the way, and whenever you need to hear it straight, she'll tell you. She won't sugarcoat anything. She just puts me right on my spot. She's been a great asset for the team and for the board member. Kathy Malone. Kathy has been a great asset to the board. She has brought so much history of the diet, of nutrition, and she has always reminded me that children struggle so much to reach their puberty, to reach their growth spurts, to reach their stage. And as much as it is hard dealing with angry parents that just don't want this disease to happen to their children, she's been there every step of the way to make them feel better and to lead them a path using the specific carbohydrate diet. Thank you, Kathy. Our last board member, Judy Herod, who unfortunately couldn't make this event this weekend because of a special family gathering. But with Judy's blessing, her approval and support, she's not only been my inspiration, but she has given freely of her wisdom, her guidance, her support every step of the way. Judy is a person you can just pick up the phone and talk to, and she'll give you the history back when Elaine Gottschall, her mom, started out, but she truly speaks Elaine's words, and it gives me chills every time I talk to her because it feels like I'm talking to Elaine Gottschall. And you know, she wishes she was here, and unfortunately she just couldn't make it. So we can give her applause anyway. Thank you so much for your support and your guidance and your time. We would not be here today because it just, everyone here has inspired me to be here and to lead the way and to create this conference and this association. And so I thank you all for all of this. This is something I've never done before. I've never put a conference together. I never ran a nonprofit association. I never even got up in front of an audience to speak before. You know, I was trying to remember. I think the last time was when I was bar mitzvahed, which was, you know, at least 4 decades ago. So, the presenters. Please welcome Dr. David Susskind from Seattle Children's Hospital. David, thank you for flying out from Seattle to be here. We know it wasn't easy for you to be here for just 12 hours, but we thank you so much for the sacrifices you made to lead the way for the SCD, for the pediatric population. It has truly been an inspiration for many people, whether or not they're children or they're adults. You have reached out to people all over the world, and I'm so grateful for that, and so many people are. You know, I got one quick story. I got a message from a woman in the Czech Republic who had some problems with her newborn, and she didn't have anybody to turn to. And she wrote an email to Dr. Susskind, and he picked up the phone and called her. And she said, you know, me, out of all the people he could have called in the United States, he called me in the Czech Republic, and he helped me so much. So thank you so much for your dedication. Please welcome Dr. Joshua Korsnick from Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. Josh, your presence here today as the director of the Crohn's and Colitis Center for Brigham and Women's Hospital gives the SCD community faith that the medical community does recognize the specific carbohydrate diet. Thank you so much. Please welcome Dr. Samira Kokadar from Rush University. Samira, thank you so much for being here. We know starting a new job and taking time off was not easy. But we thank you, and thank you for all of your research you've done for the specific carbohydrate diet. You've really put it back on the map with your research. Thank you so much. Dr. Kokadar had reminded me of something I was very forgetful of. Not everyone can just stay on SCD alone. And sometimes they need medication or complementary medicine or alternative therapy. And I forgot all about that, so thank you. Please welcome Erin Barnes and Robin Cox, the mother and daughter team from NoMoreCrohns.com website. Please welcome Beth Sikowski. There you go. Beth had worked extensively on the SCD Kickstart system for SCD. Beth was one of the first people that received the trademark licensing agreement from Kirkton Press, and that's truly an honor. Great work, Beth. Thank you so much. Now, with the welcomes done, I wanted to share a little bit about how I got here today. My disease probably started when I was about 2 weeks old, after I was born in 1962. My mom shared with me the story of how I got a 3-inch belly scar. Later, I learned that I had a pyloric stenosis. Now, 50 years later, I wondered, did the surgery back then change my gut microbiome? Did this pyloric stenosis cause my Crohn's disease? Or was the pyloric stenosis the beginning of my Crohn's disease? One day, science may have the answer. I was officially diagnosed with Crohn's disease in 1984 when I arrived at the emergency room at Boston University Hospital, where my father and I both worked. I was told I was one of the first patients to receive bowel rest as a treatment option instead of surgery. I had lost 35 pounds. I had just graduated from college. I had worked as a nursing home administrator intern full-time. I took 4 night classes and I worked on the weekends at Yale New Haven Hospital. So by the time I got back to my parents' house when I graduated, I was not doing so well. And I asked my parents to take me to the emergency room, and they looked at it, the surgeon looked at it and said, you know something, we're gonna try something new. We're gonna set you up on IV nutrition, and we're gonna keep you there to see if we can get rid of the inflammation. And sure enough, after 14 days, the inflammation was gone. Please know that in 1984, there was no MRIs, there was no CAT scans, there was no calprotectin test. I was diagnosed by ultrasound and by the touch of the doctor's hand. And when the surgeon looked at it, they got together and said, you know something, let's see if we can try something new. Instead of just cutting out his intestine, let's just see if we can rest his bowel for a little bit. And so that's how it all happened. And so I learned from that point on that diet and food had something to do with it if I was not allowed to eat. But I was given TPN, or total parental nutrition, to keep my body going there. So growing up with the GI issues with no one to turn to, I always felt alone. I learned to be a great actor by not showing my weaknesses or vulnerabilities to anyone, whether it was my employer for fear of termination, whether it was my friends or family. I was always afraid of rejection. I discovered later in life I learned these traits from my parents, as they are one of my biggest mentors in life. Unfortunately, I had to go through many years to discover that my acting skills were so good that no one ever knew that I had Crohn's or colitis. But I did live with it, and I lived in silence, and I didn't share it with anyone. I didn't want to be fired. I was already denied employment from the US Navy. I was already denied employment from the US Post Office. I had gone through 2 marriages that ended up in divorce because my partner couldn't handle my Crohn's disease. So I always went and played actor. No one ever knew. It wasn't until my first surgery in late 2003, 23 years after being diagnosed, did anyone in my family know how truly sick I could become. In 1995, I was very fortunate to meet the one and only Elaine Gottschall while she was on her book tour promoting Breaking the Vicious Cycle. She was straightforward, charismatic, caring mom who spoke as if the specific carbohydrate was simply basic science that was easy to understand. You put garbage in, you get garbage out. The basic science she shared was eating healthy, easily digestible monosaccharide foods will most likely reduce the bacterial overgrowth in the GI tract that is known to cause inflammation. After reading the science of the specific carbohydrate diet, I committed myself fanatically. By that time, I was so sick with a bladder to ileum fistula, I had no other choice. I started the next week. I did very well. I got a little bit complacent. I decided to add in rice or sweet potato or oatmeal. And what that did was it increased my glucose levels. And what that did was it activated my sugar addiction all over again. And so I started that vicious cycle of breaking the vicious cycle. And then it dawned on me, That's why Elaine named the book Breaking the Vicious Cycle. You got to break the cycle of feeding the bacteria that leads to the inflammation. In the last 23 years, I've documented through my medical record that 18 years was asymptomatic or in clinical remission without any medication. I decided I would play trial and error on myself than relying 100% on the doctors practicing medicine on me. For when I was admitted into the hospital in 1984, I turned to the doctor and I said, well, you diagnosed me with Crohn's disease, get rid of it. And he said, Jeffrey, let me tell you something. 85% of all the diseases that we know, we can only treat by trial and error. We don't have any cures. We're just sitting there, we're practicing medicine, so we're going to try this, and if it doesn't work, we'll try this, and if it doesn't work, we'll try this. And I turned around and said, well, you know something? I learned that when I was on the bowel rest, what I put in my system is what's going to come out. And I kind of learned it through all this, and Elaine kind of put it all together for me. My personal journey has been challenging, especially after my mentor, Elaine, passed away in 2005. The most important steps to reaching my goal to beat the odds was to eliminate as much negativity and self-defeating behaviors and attitudes of myself and those around me. To the doctors who said the diet had nothing to do with it, to the family, friends, past lovers who used peer pressure to change my life course, I stood strong as I am today to proclaim, no one tells me what to do but me, for I am the captain of my ship, and I, and only I, will steer the ship in the direction I know that works for me, regardless of what others say. And to those people who did their best to destroy my goals, my self-esteem, my self-worth, and my outlook in life, you did not win. You made me stronger. I overcame much adversity in my life and was made stronger every time I heard the words, you're not good enough, you have Crohn's disease, you have a life of misery, medications, surgery. Not all doctors are bad. There's some really, really awesome doctors out there. But when you look for a doctor, I always say, look for a doctor that shares your philosophy, your outlook, your goals. And when I was a patient of Dr. Korsnick, I can tell you, the compassion and passion that came from him gave me chills. But the most important thing he said to me was, if SCD works for you, go for it. If it doesn't, come back. We'll talk about another way to help you reach a better quality of life. When he said to reach a better quality of life, I can tell you, I cried the whole way home. I finally found a doctor that said diet had something to do with it. And yet on top of that, he said, Jeffrey, we will do our best for you to reach your best quality of life. Not a doctor who said I was going to live misery and surgery and just, a life of sadness. He gave me hope. He gave me positivity. And I so appreciate that, Dr. Korsnick. Thank you so much. Now, how did I get here today? I had searched over 6 years while being on permanent disability, trying to find out what is my life purpose. I'm not strong enough to commit to a time clock job, but I loved helping people. Then one day, about 2.5 years ago, I went on Facebook looking for people on SCD. And when I didn't find what I was looking for, I started my own SCD community. I remembered Alan Key's quote, if you want it in your future, you have to invent it. And so I did. I wanted to pay it forward by helping just one person with my life experience following SCD for 23 years. I thought if I could help one person not go down the same path I did, I could make a difference in someone's life. When the community asked me to lead the way to create a meeting place for all of us, I thought long and hard about how does one take the virtual world to make a reality? How do you remove the computers of communication to be able to sit alongside someone in unity? It certainly doesn't come with any history, no past, no one's ever done this before. There's no step 1, step 2, step 3. But I was very fortunate to work with Sophia Hamrick and take the big picture and make it into a process that would appeal to the entire SCD community without creating any barriers to getting together. And so because of you, we are here today. You, the SCD community, inspired me to lead the way, to create a conference, to unite the community, to bring in physicians, clinicians to teach us, to bring the companies and organizations that support the community here today. And following in Elaine's footsteps, Sophia and I created the Specific Carbohydrate Diet Association as a non-for-profit organization to bring awareness to the general population and, more importantly, to the medical community to educate them that the specific carbohydrate diet works and should be the first treatment option for many people diagnosed with a disease that affects the GI tract. I've experienced and seen too often the medical community promoting pharmaceutical therapy and saying, sadly, diet has nothing to do with it. So many people suffer needlessly simply because the medical community are telling people diet has nothing to do with it. I gather they can continue to practice medicine instead of the obvious. What we consume has a direct effect on the body. I believe in the power of people can change the direction of the medical community as we come forward and show our numbers of successes of the specific carbohydrate diet. The first step was to give people the tools of other people's life experiences to be empowered about their direction of medical care, rather than the medical community directing them down the path of medications, surgeries, and saying the worst statement ever: your disease is horrible. It's the worst disease. You know, there were times I had to remind people, you know, there's Crohn's disease, colitis that I have. It's not a bad thing. I'm 56 years old. I'm standing here strong. You know, I think terminal cancer is the worst disease. I think when you get a sentence that, or a disease that says you have so much months or days to live, when I worked in hospice, you know, that was a lot worse than what I go through every day. Even with the 39 inches of intestine that they took out of me, I'm still much stronger than a terminally ill patient. So never ever tell me that I have a horrible disease. And I educate people every time that they say it. Positivity instead of the negativity goes a long way. We have a lot of work ahead, and your presence here today brings us one step closer to educating us and the medical community. We have 2 days planned, and we hope you enjoy your time here eating SCD food, uniting the fellow SCDers, and meeting the companies who we support and who support us. As you see, Jeremiah, our videographer, will be filming the presentations. No one in the audience will be heard or seen in any video. After the filming is complete, Jeremiah will edit and provide us with a final video, which we will share with the public. However, the process may take up to 90 days. And the reason I haven't made any announcement to the public is simple. I need to be assured that it's being filmed, and after it's done, we can still see it on film. I never, for those who have followed me, I never say something and guarantee it or promise until I know it's done. So I'm just waiting for these 10 presentations to finish. You can share it with the public that we are being filmed, but I do want you to know, until I see it for myself, Once I do, I'll let everyone know, I promise. But you can share it, please. As a comfort to all, we have a first responder on site should anything happen. His name is Rob. He's our state police officer, wherever he is. He should be right outside those doors. If anything happens, please do not hesitate. I know we have doctors and we have some nurses and we have some nutritionists here who are first responders, but I wanted to take that off their shoulders by having a first responder here at all times. Today will be filled with lots of information as well as lots of social time for everyone to meet everyone. And Duke's Bakery is here, and I hope everyone enjoyed their breakfast. Lunch will be served around 12:30. Please keep your cell phone use in this room to a minimum, and if you can please put your phones on vibrate now as to not interrupt the conference. You may excuse yourself quietly at any time, leave the room, use social media, you can just walk right out the door. You may take pictures, but please do not film any of this conference. The slide presentations will be made available to you online after the presentations are completed. If you have any questions about the conference or anything, please see myself or one of the board members. We are here to help you. We do have some local people here as well that can be able to help you navigate to certain restaurants or to public transportation, sightseeing, whatever you need. There are some local people here that we can tap into to help you make your stay here more comfortable. Being that this is our first conference, we know that we can improve in the next year's conference in 2019 and all those years that follow. Because today is a success, and for what we do today is what we build on for the future. And I can promise you that there will be future SCD conferences. We just don't know where they're going to be located yet. We haven't figured that out yet. But with the input from all of you, that is going to actually help us know where to go next for each year. This is not a one-time event. Your feedback will be greatly appreciated. And lastly, I hope everyone knows they're not alone here anymore. You know, there were many times in the Facebook community, no one could see. But when I noticed that there were certain people that met each other for the first time online and shared things together, and there was the hearts and the loves and virtual hugs, I cried. I've cried at home. You know, when I see someone like Susan and Jennifer who live hundreds and hundreds of miles apart, thousands of miles, and yet they collaborate together, just as all of you. It is truly the most heartwarming experience, even though it's 6 degrees of separation. You have all reached out, you've all helped each other, and we're all here today because of you. Thank you so much. I finished.